What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Eddie Hearn. Actually, this is a discussion that I've been pondering on a while, about Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua, his cash cow, his protege fighter, his elite fighter, Anthony Joshua. My question is, what type of relationship do they really have? A lot of it in public, they perceive to be fine. Eddie Hearn regards, Anthony Joshua as a friend. Eddie Hearn regards to Anthony Joshua as his boss. You know what I mean? Anthony Joshua calls the shots. Anthony Joshua is the guy that makes the final decision. Now, I'm asking this question: what type of relationship do they truly have? Is there a disconnect? I'm asking this for a reason. The reason is because let's look at three different things, right? We had the Luis Ortiz incident, or the Luis Ortiz situation. We have the venue situation. And it was another one. It will come to me. But let's start with the Luis Ortiz situation. I've heard Anthony Joshua, because I've heard enough interviews that he's in, because he's not in really many interviews. Anthony Joshua is not that guy. He's not Eddie Hearn. He's not Deontay Wilder. He sure as shit's not Tyson Fury. He says what he needs to say and how he feels, and that's it. He kind of reminds me of Russell Simmons in Def Comedy Jam. Thank you for coming out. God bless you. Good night. That's Anthony Joshua, right? He's not anything else extra. Now, he does sit down and express other things when you're on a one-on-one, like the Breakfast Club and Sway, Sway's Universe and things of that nature. He was never on Joe Rogan. I always question that. But anyway, he does every so often give a pretty lengthy interview, but normally he does not. It's mostly Eddie Hearn promoting him. I know what Eddie Hearn's job is to promote him, right? But these guys do say different things. Okay, with Luis Ortiz, I've heard Anthony Joshua, saying all that to say this. Anthony Joshua did call out Luis Ortiz. He called him out after Provectin. After he knocked out Provectin in round 8, I believe, or round 7. I think it was round 7. After he knocked him out, he said that he was like, well, hey, dig up old man Ortiz. Let's fight Ortiz. I want a challenge. I want somebody that's going to give me a challenge if I can't fight Deontay Wilder. You know what I mean? And then at that time, Deontay hadn't fought Fury, right? So they didn't start the funk and the situation they're in right now. And, then Luis Ortiz kind of, to me, Eddie Hearn, I don't think was interested in that. Even with him fighting Dillian White, I don't think that was something that he wanted to do. We had the Dillian White, Luis Ortiz situation and how that went. But then this year comes around, and then Luis Ortiz, the promoters said one thing, and then they didn't really get with Luis Ortiz. But then, then it came out, they were like, hey, we dropped the ball, but then all of a sudden it was too late. You know what I'm saying? It just makes me question that. Really, how serious was Eddie Hearn about signing a fight with Ortiz? So that would be a question that I would love to be a fly on the wall for, to hear their conversation. Like, okay, well, I can get you this guy, I can get you that guy. And, and if Anthony Joshua once again called out Luis Ortiz, it should be his priority to get the guy that he wants first. And if it's the guy that he wants first, that means he should focus more time on making that fight happen. And I don't think he did, because I don't think that he wanted Luis Ortiz to fight Anthony Joshua for whatever reason. And it is funny that if I'm Eddie Hearn and I have the haters, I have the guys that criticize me, I wouldn't fall for the bait. Because, see, the LDBC, those guys, these groups of guys, they don't like him because he's white. That's plain and simple. But if you give them any other reason to not like you, they're going to run with that. You know what I mean? But, you know, sure, the underlying reason is already apparent, but, you know, they will look for other things for you to do. They will look for flaws. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at it in another way. If you were a black American in the 1940s and you worked at a job that people that weren't your color don't like you already, right? The last thing you want to do is fuck up on your job. Because they don't already like you, so they're looking for excuses to ridicule you, criticize you, or fire you. You know, and back then it's probably much worse. You know what I mean? That's probably for people that did their job too well. You better cool it. You're doing your job too good. But, you know, but back to Eddie, you know, you don't want to do things that gives you more criticism. And, you know, and it's funny because if he would have fought Luis Ortiz, that would have snatched any old thing out. And now they should have fucking done it. They should have listened. They should, you know, you should have paid attention to what Joshua wanted. And then when the moment Eddie Hearn was like, okay, we found out they dropped the ball, that means they can take this money, can't they? Right? You know, so then he could go back with Jay Jimenez and renegotiate just like he did with Dillian White. How many times did he went back to renegotiate with Dillian White? Think about it, guys. What, 3, 4 fucking times? First it was 4 million pounds, then it was 5 million pounds, then it was the contract details, then it was a thing about the date. Remember that? They did all that for Dillian White, but then yet, I understand it's in-house. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is, Luis Ortiz, hey, you want this deal? Hey, take it or leave it. Oh, you don't want it? Oh, shit, you putting some shit on Instagram about me? Fuck you, we're going to go somewhere else. You know, and I'm like, well, isn't that what Anthony Joshua wanted first? He said, bring me Ortiz. Because Anthony Joshua's no idiot. He knows that Ortiz is the only guy that on Deontay Wilder's resume that he can gloat and boast about, that no one else fought. Now, that doesn't supersede the other narrative that they want to put Luis Ortiz on ice for Deontay Wilder, because that ended up being the case. But Eddie Hearn could have stopped that. He could have said, fine, we'll give you $7 million. We'll give you $8 million. We'll do something because my boss, which is Anthony Joshua, wants you in the ring. That's one. Okay. Now, 2. Another disconnect or something that they said totally different. Joshua wants to fight Andy Ruiz in the rematch. Here, Eddie Hearn, all he talks about, and he's shopping for venues in the UK. So it's like, okay, well, who are you listening to? You know, are you listening to yourself or are you listening to your boss? Because that sounds like insubordination to me, honestly. You're supposed to work for Anthony Joshua, so therefore you're supposed to be looking for venues here, not in the UK. Madison Square Garden, that would be ideal. Think about it. Muhammad Ali took his first L in Madison Square Garden. It happens. Maybe it's, you know, MSG curse. And a Drake curse. Double cursed. Right? But he should be looking at the Staples Center, the Texas Stadium in Las Colinas, you know, in Irving, Texas. That's the huge one. You know, and that's more of something that Anthony Joshua is accustomed to. You know what I'm saying? Something big like that, sell out a venue. You know that would sell. Mexicans in Texas? Are you serious? Come on now. Right? And I wonder if if both of these guys are saying different things, what is the communication like? Is there a disconnect? You know, I mean, you got to look at that like, wait a minute, you know, this is media, the world of media, right? You have access to different videos on this date. If it's the 18th of June and someone said something on the 15th, you're going to remember that. You can quickly pull up that particular video quick. Oh shit, wait a minute, you said this 3 days ago, now you're saying that. Contradiction, right? People are not stupid. People know. You know, even when I don't put sources on my videos, a lot of people, where's your source? Where's your source? You know what I mean? Because people want to know the fucking sources. I don't want to give out all my sources, because if I can give it to you, that means you'll know where it got it from. No, that's not the point. You know, the point is, you want these people, we, all of us, want to know where this comes from, right? But as far as when you say Anthony Joshua saying this, I want it here, then Eddie Hearn shopping over there, you wonder, right? And then what the criticizing minds of other people that don't like Eddie Hearn is going to say. Seems like to me, but he's doing something against Anthony Joshua's wishes. But guess what? He is. So again, if you give them any reason, or anyone any reason to criticize you, because I'll counterpunch anyone, right? Do what your fighter wants you to do since you work for him. You're not like a slave master like your dad claims anymore. That's not the case. It's a new age. Okay? The boxer's the boss. They tell you what to do. They get in the ring. They figured out, motherfucker, I'm taking these punches, not you. I could go somewhere else and get more money. Especially if I'm undefeated. Thank you, Floyd. Right? Because he fucking made that doctrine and created it. But anyway, he knows that is what it is. Right? So, it just gives more room for criticism. You know, and then it's like, okay, if Eddie is doing what Eddie wants to do, how is he benefiting Anthony Joshua? You know, and I'm not saying Eddie is a bad promoter, but I see things Eddie does, you know, and I see what he doesn't do, you know, and you got to pay attention to what both, you know, because hey, if he'd have fought Luis Ortiz, that shit would have sold out, and may the best man win, like Anthony Joshua said, you know, and we don't know what type of fight that would have been. Would aging Ortiz and Anthony Joshua? You know, we don't know what kind of fight that would have been. That would have probably been a good fight. If everything was true they said about Joshua, and then Luis Ortiz aged that point, these guys would be levels like this. They would probably be neck and neck, and you'd probably have a Klitschko Joshua fight all over again. Probably be the fight of the year. Shit, it go 11, 12 rounds. Somebody's going down, or both guys been down. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where, and it could have been the same way. Joshua hurts Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz gets up swinging like he did with Wilder and catches Joshua. It probably would have been majestic. And the thing is, maybe that fight didn't happen because of disconnect, because of what Eddie Hearn wanted to do versus what Joshua wanted to do. You know, so inquiring minds would like to know. Of course, people like I said are on other channels creating this narrative that Anthony Joshua should leave his promotion or his promoter if these things were true. And then at this point, you can't really argue with them because Eddie Hearn keeps giving them shit to throw at him. Here, take this, throw it in my fucking face, please. That's what he's doing, right? He's giving them things to say and criticize him about. All he had to do is fight Ortiz. He didn't want to do that. Anthony Joshua did, right? Now let's say this venue thing, this situation about the venue and the place and the country and all that. Let's say we hear Anthony Joshua once again, I want it in the UK, and then it happens in I want it in the US, and then it ends up happening in the UK. Then you're like, well, wait a minute. That's another thing that Eddie Hearn is giving them. Now Eddie Hearn is showing, okay, well, no, I want it here. I can talk him into that. If you're persuading him, influencing him to do something that he doesn't want to do, why aren't you trying to do what he wants to do? That's what everybody's going to say, and they would be absolutely right. Because we already heard the man, the champ, the guy that takes the punches, the guy that makes the money, say he wants it in the USA and then it ends up being in the UK. We know that's not the wishes of Anthony Joshua. Then there would be more things to speculate. You know, and then at some point you have to, and let's say he wins in the UK and then Anthony Joshua's stock plummets, and then guess what? He'll stay in the UK and Eddie Hearn won't mind. He's like, fuck going over there. You know, see, that type of stuff like that is a problem. Because it could eventually, he could lose his cash cow by not doing what his cash cow wants him to do. You see what I'm saying? And that could probably be, I want to know if there is some type of disconnect, because it seems like it is. It does. You know? But anyway, that's my question, man. I just want to ask you, you know, because like you hear one guy saying this, the fighter, you hear another guy saying that, the promoter. You know what I'm saying? And then it ends up they're doing what the promoter wants to happen. You know, because whatever the promoter's saying, then that happens magically. Well, why doesn't anything that the fighter wants to do happen? That's the question I'm asking you guys. So please get with me, leave comments below. I know this was kind of long, but of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunched. Peace.